All right, today we're jumping back in time, way back, to explore one of the most high-stakes stories ever told. We're going to look at how an entire nation made a binding agreement, a covenant, with their God. Now, this isn't just some ancient history lesson. It's really a window into how people once formalized their most important relationships, almost like a treaty between a powerful king and his people. So let's start with this big question. How do you actually make a promise to God? And I'm not just talking about a quick, personal prayer. I mean, how do you create a formal, binding contract between the divine and thousands upon thousands of people? For the ancient Israelites, this was everything. This was the moment they became a nation. So what does a ceremony like that even look like? Well, lucky for us, the book of Exodus lays out a pretty dramatic and detailed blueprint. So here's the setup. The story kicks off at the foot of the massive, imposing Mount Sinai. God issues a summons, basically an invitation to come up the mountain. But, this is no open-door party. It comes with some very clear and very strict rules about who gets to get close and just how close they're allowed to be. What's so fascinating here is this clear hierarchy of access, this kind of tiered system. At the very bottom, you've got the entire nation. They have to stay put and worship from a distance. Then you have the leadership team. That's Aaron, his sons, and 70 elders. They get to go part of the way up. But Moses? Moses alone is allowed to go all the way, to actually come near the Lord. He's the one and only bridge between the human and the divine. I mean, talk about a high-stakes job, right? It's a huge honor, but also incredibly dangerous. So Moses serves as that bridge. He goes up, gets the terms of the agreement, and then he comes back down to everyone else. He stands before the whole nation and lays it all out. Every word from God, every law, every rule. This is it, the moment of truth. Here's the deal. The big question is, are they in? And get this, the people's response, it's immediate and it is completely unanimous. The text says they answered with one voice. Just try to imagine that sound, an entire nation speaking as one. This is their solemn verbal promise. It's the crucial first step. But for a bond this massive, this world-changing, well, words just aren't going to cut it. So if words aren't enough, how do you make it binding? Well, to make this agreement real, permanent, they needed more. They needed a ritual, a physical, unforgettable ceremony that would seal the deal and make the consequences of breaking it terrifyingly clear. You see, this is where an ancient covenant is so different from a modern contract. A contract is about exchanging goods or services, but a covenant? That was understood as exchanging persons, creating a brand new shared identity. And this ceremony just shows the gravity of the moment. First up, Moses builds an altar to represent God, and right next to it, 12 stone pillars, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. He's physically representing both parties right there. Then, young men sacrifice oxen. Moses takes half of the blood from the sacrifice and sprinkles it on the altar. That's God's side of the contract. He then reads the entire book of the covenant out loud to the people one more time, and one more time, they agree. And then he does something absolutely stunning. He takes the other half of the blood and he sprinkles it directly onto the people, declaring, "Behold the blood of the covenant." This is the seal. This is the moment. The very same lifeblood is now on God's altar and on the people. It's a visual way of saying they are now bound together in this life and death promise. The deal is officially done. So the covenant is sealed. You'd think that would be the grand finale, right? But just when you think the ceremony's over, the story takes an even more astonishing turn. That leadership group gets invited back up the mountain for an encounter that, by all the rules of the day, should have been deadly. Yep, that same crew from before. Moses, Aaron, his two sons Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders, they all head back up the mountain together. They are literally stepping into a realm no human was supposed to enter and survive. What could they possibly be about to see? The text just says it straight up. They saw the God of Israel. But notice how it's described. There's no attempt to describe a face or a body. Instead, it focuses on what was under God's feet, a pavement that looked like it was made of sapphire, as clear and brilliant as the sky itself. It gives you this sense of unbelievable glory and majesty, without trying to define the undefinable. And this might be the most shocking part of the whole chapter. The text says that God laid not his hand on these leaders. What that means is he didn't destroy them. Being in the direct presence of God was supposed to be fatal for humans, but here they survive. And they don't just survive. The text says they saw God and did eat and drink. They shared a meal. In the ancient world, sharing a meal was the ultimate sign of peace, trust, and fellowship. This covenant meal turns a legal agreement into a personal relationship. Okay, so the covenant has been spoken, it's been sealed in blood, and it's been celebrated with a meal in the divine presence. Now we're heading into the final act. The agreement needs to be written down for good, and for that, Moses has to go even higher, all alone, right into the heart of the mystery itself. The Lord calls out to Moses, "Come up to me into the mount." And this time, the purpose is very specific. He's going to receive tables of stone with the law and commandments written on them. This is it. This will be the physical, permanent record of the promise the whole nation just made. So as Moses heads up into the cloud covering the mountain, just try to picture what the hundreds of thousands of people below are seeing. From their vantage point, the glory of the Lord on that summit looked like a devouring fire. Their leader, their only go-between, is walking straight into a divine inferno. And then he disappears. He vanishes into that cloud, and he stays there for 40 days and 40 nights. Moses is on the mountain, completely surrounded by the fiery glory of God, leaving an entire nation down below, just waiting. So let's recap. The promise has been made in words, it's been sealed in blood, and it's been celebrated with a divine meal. But now their leader is gone, swallowed by a cloud of fire for nearly 6 weeks. The question hanging over that entire camp, and really the entire future of this new nation, is what or maybe who would come back down that mountain?